America has 330 million people, 330 million from which to choose its leaders. So how on earth, with all that choice, did it come up with this top three? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi. Biden seemingly with dementia, Harris, his potential successor, utterly clueless and frightened of responsibility, and third in the leadership line, Nancy Pelosi, who acts like a demented marionette from outer space. Do enough Americans realise that this is the worst leadership crisis that the US has ever faced? 3 incompetents in the top 3 leadership positions. Now, I'm not making a cheap political point here. It's not partisan sniping. I'm describing a potentially catastrophic leadership crisis. What else to call it? America's big rivals, they've got no worries on that front. China's dictator Xi Jinping this week got a whole week of hagiography in the papers there, in the media, as he cemented his position at a big party conference as dictator for life. While in Russia, President Vladimir Putin, he kills or jails his opponents and gave a speech last week jeering how the West is getting woke and weak. I'm not saying we've got to admire either of those two guys, but against them, these formidable rivals, what has America got? Well, let's go through the list. America has as its president this man, a 78-year-old who struggles to read even an auto cue or remember the names of union leaders he counts as his allies.
Thank you, pal. AFL-CIO State President. And Jeff Isaacson, United Brotherhood of Carpenters, and Don Finn, IBEW, and Robert Reiter, R-E-I-T-E-R, Reader. You know, if I can digress for just a second, last night I was on the television. I was on the telephone, you know. At any rate.
Biden also can't remember the name of a Prime Minister, Australia's, even when the two of them have just formed a critical new defence alliance with Britain to resist China.
And I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
This is a president who now even needs cue cards when he's simply saying hello to a world leader. I mean, how can Biden possibly serve out the remaining 3 years of his presidency?
So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
All that is dangerous enough to say that America has a leadership nightmare here. President fading fast, and at some stage, probably, is going to need to be replaced. But that nightmare gets even worse when you look at who would replace him. The Vice President, his successor, Kamala Harris. Now, if you think Biden's poll numbers are terrible, around 40% approval now, Harris's even worse. This is a woman so clearly out of her depth and so charmless that a new poll from USA Today says just 28% of Americans approve of her. No vice president has ever been so unpopular. And it's no wonder. Harris is not just desperately inexperienced, but when faced with a problem, she laughs nervously. She steps back from it, doesn't lean forward. I'll give you an example. When Afghanistan was going to hell, when Americans were trapped behind Taliban lines, needing rescuing, Kamala Harris flew out of the US to Singapore and to Vietnam and laughed when journalists caught up with her and asked her about the chaos in Kabul.
What's your response to reports of Americans?
Hold on. Slow down, everybody. I want to talk about 2 things. First, Afghanistan. We couldn't have a higher priority right now, and in particular, our priority is making sure that we safely evacuate American citizens.
Well, look, if Afghanistan was her top priority, why had Harris fled the US? Let me give a clearer example. You know, of Harris laughing off problems and running away from them. Joe Biden has given Harris one job above all. He tasked her to stop the huge flow of illegal immigrants coming over the Mexican border. But since then, Harris has visited the Mexican president and the border just once, and again gave this nervous laugh when asked when she'd go again.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today, but I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
I mean, how clueless is Kamala Harris? I mean, how fundamentally unserious. When she got a briefing from NASA, she actually asked if it could use its satellites to track down racist trees.
Part of that data that you're referring to, and it's in EJ, it's environmental justice, but you can also track by race. There are averages in terms of the number of trees in the neighborhood where people live.
This is the woman who will be president if Joe Biden can't go on. But guess what? It gets even worse. You wouldn't think it could, but it does. If Biden can't go on, if Harris can't replace him, who is number 3 in America's leadership pyramid? The answer? It's the 81-year-old Speaker of the House of Representatives, the 81-year-old Nancy Pelosi. And if you think, well, Alicia's experienced all those years in office, you haven't been watching her give press briefings, which would make you wonder, I think, whether she's been in the sun a few years too long. Show you. Try not to focus on her amazing hand gestures. Try to figure out what the hell she is saying. And ask yourself, is this woman really the second in line to replace a president in mental decline?
We're sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except now we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill, like a hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Excuse me, Bernie loves hearing. Manchin doesn't want hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate-oriented, and then we had the family medical leave. We figured if they're putting things in, then we can put something in, even if Manchin doesn't like it. So, so we are getting some bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege scrub is deadly to a bill. Birdable, it's important. It's you have to take it out, but privilege violation can take you out.
So I've just shown you the top 3 political leaders of the United States of America. The president, the vice president, just one heartbeat from replacing him, and the speaker, who is next after her. America's future is in their hands for the next 3 years. Them against the Xi Jinping of Vladimir Putin. That is terrifying.